41. More than his eyes Rogerio loved her, nay, more than lifeblood of his very heart. Long he had sought her ever since the day, glimpsing her golden hair, he knew love's smart. And how she then sought him, 'twere long to say, through the dark forest, wandering apart. They yearned to find each other, but in vain, and now they have their heart's desire again. 42. So when at last he sees her and he knows that it is she alone who freed him, then his heart with joy and gladness overflows, calling himself most fortunate of men. Along the valley with the maid he goes, where she achieved her recent triumph when she overcame Atlante. In the field they find the hippogriff bearing the shield. 43. Moving towards it, Bradamante tries to seize the rein. When almost near enough she has approached, it spreads its wings and flies, and lands upon a hillside not far off. She follows it. Again, to her surprise, it moves away onto another bluff, just as a crow will lead a dog a dance, now here, now there, and always in advance. 44. Gradacio, Sacripante, all that band of knights who with Rogerio came below, scattered about the terrain, took their stand, some on the highest points, some on the low, wherever each foresaw the horse might land. It leads them a wild goose chase to and fro, down in the valleys, up the mountain tops. At last, near where Rogerio waits, it stops. 45. This is the secret work of the magician, who has not yet renounced his cherished scheme of rescuing Rogerio. This ambition fills all his thoughts and every waking dream. It's he who moves the horse to this position, that out of Europe it may fly with him. Rogerio reaches out to take the bridle, meaning to lead it, but that thought is idle. 46. So from Frontino he at first dismounts, for such the name is of Rogerio's horse, then to the other creature's saddle mounts, and to encourage it applies the spurs. It canters for a while, then all at once it takes the air, and lighter far it soars. Then a gerfalcon rises when the hood is lifted, as the falconer thinks good. 47. The maid, seeing Rogerio on the steed, in mortal peril, so high above, by this event is horror-struck indeed. For a long time she cannot speak or move, and all that she has heard of Ganymede, snatched up to heaven by the will of Jove, she has no doubt Rogerio's fate will be, just as fair as Ganymede is he. 48. She follows him, her steadfast gaze on high. As far as she can see, she looks her fill, and when he disappears in her mind's eye, the valiant maid pursues his image still. Her tears, her groans, her deep despair deny all solace and relief. Weep as she will, then, since she can no longer see Rogerio, she turns her glance upon his destroyer. 49. And she resolves that she will not abandon it, but take it with her, hoping by and by to see its master. With her gentle hand on it, she leads it off. Rogerio from the sky looks down upon the earth, but cannot land on it. His mount flies on and carries him so high, and every peak recedes from view so far, he cannot see where plains or mountains are. 50. He soars so far, he seems the merest dot to anyone who views him from the ground. The hippogriff then heads towards a spot whereon the sun, when with the crab it's found, beats vertically, mercilessly hot. It wings its way as smoothly as a sound sea-going vessel speeding on its route. But let us leave him sailing through the skies, and to Ronaldo once more turn our eyes. 51. Each day Ronaldo's ship ahead had gone, though pressed by winds and tossed by tumbling sea, now westward and now northward whirled and spun. All day and night the gale blew ceaselessly. At last the Scottish coast they draw upon, where Caledonia's forest they can see, where ofttimes amidst the ancient oaks is heard the clash of war and steel-edged strokes. 52. For there the cavaliers of Britain roam, valiant in arms, with knights of other lands, some from near by, and others far from home, Norwegian, Frankish, and Germanic bands. Valor is needed by all those who come, for here a knight his death, not glory, stands to find. Here Tristan, Galahad, Gawain, Lancelot, Galasso, Arthur, foes have slain. 53. And many a brave knight of both the old and new Round Table here renown has won, as many a monument to many a bold brave deed, and many trophies have been made known. Taking his horse and weapons from the hold, Ronaldo gallops inland and is gone, commanding first the pilot to make speed, and wait for him at Berwick upon Tweed. 54. Having no company, nor squire to bear his shield, alone he travelled through the wood, seeking adventure, turning here and there, first to the left, then right, as he thought good. On the first day he reached an abbey where largesse by the kind Cenobites in food and shelter in their fair apartments paid is to any passing cavaliers or ladies. 55. The abbot and the monk do all they can to make Ronaldo welcome. He inquires, but not till he restores his inner man with all the tasty vivans he desires, if any enterprises such as an adventurous young knight always requires are to be found, whence risking death or worse he stands to earn renown, or the reverse. 56. They said that in the forest thereabout there was no lack of strange adventurings, but often, left in darkness and in doubt, the monks heard little of such happenings. Try, therefore, they advised him, to seek out an enterprise which fame and honour brings, so that brave deeds of valour are not lost, but glory is made known, and all its cost. 57. If you would put your valour to the test, there is a worthy deed awaiting you, the noblest task that ever knight addressed, whether in ancient times or in the new. The daughter of our monarch is oppressed, in need of help, she knows not what to do. An evil lord, Lurcanio by name, intends that she shall die a death of shame. 58. Lurcanio has reported to the king, inspired perhaps by hatred more than right, that by a secret rope he saw her bring her lover to her balcony at night. By law she is condemned for such a thing, to death by burning. Such then is her plight, unless within a month, and time is short, a knight arrives to challenge this report. 59. The law of Scotland, harsh, severe, unjust, decrees that every woman who in love bestows herself, except in marriage, must be put to death, quite irrespective of her rank, if she is thus accused of lust, and the dread sentence no appeal can move, unless a knight will come to her defence and boldly champion her innocence. 60. The father of Generva, in his woe, for such the name is of the fair princess, has sent this proclamation high and low: whoever rescues her from her distress, and gives to calumny a mortal blow, if he is nobly born, may claim, no less, Generva as his bride, with such estate as for her dowry is appropriate. 61. But if within a month no one has come, or having come is vanquished, she must die. This enterprise far better will become you than all random venturing. Thereby not only fame and honour, but the plum of prizes you may win, than whom the eye of Phoebus none more lovely ever sees, from Indus to the Straits of Hercules. 62. Wealth also will be yours, and a domain, where you will live content your whole life through, and the knight's favour, if but once again his honours reinstated, thanks to you. The laws of chivalry a knight constrain to avenge the honour of a lady who is held by all who knows her to be, who is to avenge the honour of a lady who is held by all who know her well to be the very paragon of chastity. 63. Ronaldo thought a while, and then he said, a damsel is condemned to death because she gave her lover solace in her bed, who with desire for her Rinaldo thought a while, and then he said, "A damsel is condemned to death because she gave her lover solace in her bed, who with desire for her tormented was? A curse upon the legislator's head, and cursed be all who tolerate such laws. Death rather to such damsels as refuse, but not to her who loves and life renews." 64. And in my view it makes no difference if the report is false or if it's true, for this does not affect her innocence. I'd praise her anyway, if no one knew. I know just what to say in her defense, so now a trusty guide I ask of you, to lead me to the accuser. I'll not waver, for, as God is my help, I hope to save her. 65. I will not say she did not do this deed, lest I am wrong. It would be ill advised. But I will say that even if she did, she does not merit thus to be chastised. And I will say that mad and bad indeed he was who first this evil law devised, which from the statute book should be erased, and a wiser measure be replaced. 66. If the same ardor, if an equal fire, draws and compels two people evermore to sweet consumption of desire, which many ignoramuses did deplore, why should a woman by a fate so dire be punished, who has done what men a score of times will do, and never will be blamed, nay, rather will be praised for it, and famed? 67. This inequality in law much wrong has done to women. With God's help, I mean to show that to have suffered it so long, the greatest of inequities has been. Rinaldo's logic carried them along. The ancient forefathers were justly seen to be unjust to have consented to it. Also the king, who could and should undo it. 68. When next the white and crimson light of day dispersed the darkness from our hemisphere, Rinaldo took his weapons and away he rode, having this time a squire to bear his arms and to escort him on his way, through miles and miles of forest wild and drear, towards the city where a damsel's life hangs on the outcome of ordeal and strife. 69. Hoping to find a shorter route, they chose a path which from the main direction veered, and all at once a piteous cry arose, filling the woods with echoes sad and weird. They spurred their destriers without repose, until they reached the valley whence they heard the sound come forth. There, in the custody of two rough villains, a fair maid they see. 70. And she was weeping more than any maid or woman ever wept, or any ever could. The ruffians at her side, with naked blade, prepared to stain the meadow with her blood, and she was pleading with them to evade the cruel moment, hoping that they would relent. Rinaldo came, and at this sight rode with loud threats to save her from her plight. 71. The ruffians, seeing help was imminent, fled down the vale and hid themselves in fear. Scorning to follow them, Rinaldo went towards the lady, curious to hear for what misconduct to such punishment she was condemned. And as his squire draws near, to lose no time, he bids him now take up the lady's pillion on his horse's croup. 72. And when their former path once more they find, he looks at her more closely, and can see how fair she is, how gracious and refined. Although much frightened by the danger she has just escaped, and when some calm of mind she has regained, how did she come to be, he asks, in such a pass? In a low tone she answers, as Canto 5 makes known. End of canto.